Good morning, everybody. I am going to be making a super action-packed smoothie to start my day today. So I'm looking for all of my different colors in terms of veg and fruit. And then I'm looking for fats, and I'm looking for something that's going to feed my gut. And I'm looking for something that's going to sweeten, something that's going to make a little bit less sweet, so we get a full balance of colors, flavors, and roundness to this particular smoothie. So I'm going to get started. First things first, I have a container, my greens container, and I am going to grab a large, 1 or 2 large spinach leaves. So if you see the stem of this spinach leaf, it's yellow, and the stem of this one, red. So I'm getting green, red, and yellow just from this particular ingredient. So I'm going to pop it into my NutriBullet. Kind of want to break it up so that everything else will fit into the NutriBullet. And I made a salad yesterday with this spinach, and I was cutting off the stems. So I decided to keep the stems. So I've got 2 red stems and 2 yellow stems that I'm going to place into here, just to get an extra infusion of all those wonderful colors. So that is my spinach complete. And then I'm going to grab a quick chopping board and a knife. And I have a large zucchini here. So I'm going to cut off half of this zucchini. Just going to cut it into smaller bits so the NutriBullet can manage. And that zucchini is going in. Then, by way of berries, I have some raspberries here, which are really, really red. So I put about 6 raspberries inside. I've got some strawberries, so I'm going to put 3 or 4 strawberries inside. Then I have yellow gooseberries. Just going to grab a small clump of those, 5. And then some blackberries, which are really, really high in fiber. They've got little seeds inside them. So 3 blackberries. And as you can see, this is filling up quite quickly. Just going to shove everything down. In this bag, I have some bananas. So I'm just going to grab half a broken banana. This always lives in my freezer. So I've got green, red, yellow, red, yellow, yellow, red, very dark black color. Bananas, which add a huge amount of carbohydrates, phosphorus. Okay, so that pretty much makes up the bulk of my fruit and vegetable ingredients that are going to go into this. Now, I have a little jar here that has a load of seaweed in it. So it's really ground up seaweed, and this is fantastic for your body. So I'm going to put about a teaspoon of seaweed into this smoothie. I try to put this into everything. It's just got so many wonderful minerals and vitamins. And then from a liquid perspective, I've got some wonderful kefir here. So this is a dairy-based product for those of you that have dairy. This is the only time I'll really have dairy. and it is raw kefir. So I know that it's coming from an organic source. I know that it's coming from a grass-fed source. And so I feel comfortable having this every now and again. So I'm going to pop a whole bunch of kefir into here. Then I need some fats. So I've got a container here of Brazil nuts. I'm going to put 3 Brazil nuts into here. And then to get a little bit of variety from a nut perspective, I am going to get a tablespoon of macadamia nut butter. If you want to put macadamia nuts in straight, you're very welcome to. So I have a nice dollop of fat in there for my brain. And that has a whole load of vegetables, fruits. I'm literally like ticking off all the boxes in terms of what I'm looking for each day. Now, there's a few things that I'm missing in here. Because I'm quite active and I exercise quite a lot, I need to have protein. And for the start of the day, I want to make sure that I'm getting those amino acids. So I have got some grass-fed organic protein powder in chocolate flavor, whichever flavor that you like. I find chocolate goes really well with all the different vegetable flavors. It kind of hides them. So 1 scoop of protein powder, and then for the brain, some collagen. So 1 scoop of collagen. Like to add a little bit more sweetness to this, I've got a whole bunch of medjool dates here. So I'm going to pull out a date. Dates are really, really high in phosphorus and magnesium. If you are ever craving chocolate for some reason, the best way to get rid of that craving is by eating dates. Gives you all the nutrients that your body is telling you that you need. So I'm just going to cut these into smaller pieces. So I've got fats. I've got a whole bunch of berries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fruits. 2 different vegetables in terms of zucchini, and the spinach. So that's 7, with dates 8, plus all of my fats and seaweed and kefir, which gives me protein, and protein powder and collagen, which gives me extra protein. This is just a smorgasbord of nutrients going into your body every day. So I'm going to get some water. And if you are using a NutriBullet, please don't overfill it because it ends up spraying all over the place. And I'm going to put my lid on. And this really is a rainbow smoothie. my NutriBullet halfway just to make sure that everything's being incorporated. And that is my action-packed smoothie ready to go. Just gonna get a nice glass to serve it in. And that is such a generous serving of nutrients. So luckily with my NutriBullet, I get these lids which I can just pop on top here. And this just sits in my fridge, and during the day, if I get a little bit hungry, if I get a little bit snackish, I can sip on this. And if I'm out at work, it sits in my car and I can sip on nutrients throughout the whole day. Just as I was packing away all of my stuff for my smoothies, I popped into my fridge and saw what I'd like to add to this morning smoothie ritual, and that is bone broth. So I'm really lucky that I have access to an amazing organic supplier called Sans, and they supply the most wonderful bone broth that's already pre-frozen. So in my freezer, I always have sachets of bone broth, and this will be roughly 4 servings of bone broth. So when I'm eating proteins, and animal proteins in particular, I try and eat things that are really, really close to the bone and that take a long time to cook, which means there's a lot of collagen in them and they are very gelatinous. And that is stuff that's going in towards feeding your brain. So this bone broth is open now. When I look inside the packet, it is very jellyish. It's almost like set. So into a little pot, I'm just going to put 1 serving, which would be a teacup or coffee cup sized serving. And I'm just going to gently warm it on the heat so that I have a nutritious bone broth to go with this wonderful smoothie. If you're starting your day in this way, you really are feeding your microbiome, feeding your brain, feeding your cells. And when I'm ingesting this, I'm thinking of all the different vegetables going into my digestive tract, all the different fruits, all the different fats, the bone broth, the collagen, the protein. And I'm telling my body what it's doing. The protein, I envision my muscle system. When I'm having the bone broth, I'm thinking about my brain in particular. When I'm having all the vegetables, I'm thinking about all my cells and my mitochondria, which is the thing that fuels your cell. It's basically the engine room of the cell. And I'm thinking about all these ingredients and what they are doing for particular parts of my body. So when I'm ingesting this, I'm not on my phone. I'm thinking very clearly about what is going into my body and trying to create a conscious stream of information as well as the foods and the nutrients that are going into my body, so that that communication stream can tell my body, okay, this vitamin C is going to this part of the body, this phosphorus is going to this part of the body, this calcium is going to this part of the body. So I encourage you when you eat to not be on your phone, even if it's for a smoothie, and try and be conscious of what you're taking in. I am really looking forward to my warm cup of bone broth. Things are getting quite cold in the city where I live. So this will be my warm up. in the morning. So I hope you enjoy. Please don't forget the seaweed. It is so, so good for the brain and body and nutrients. And I hope you enjoy.